Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I think I said this in my last podcast, which would have been Flashback Friends or Midnight Binge. Yes, Friends is coming out soon. I'm doing a Flashback Friday for Friends. Just did a Midnight Binge for Motherland, and I am pre-recording these, so there might not be articles for the next few weeks, just so you guys know, because I am going to be out of commission for, I want to say, at least 2 weeks, maybe. So I'm trying to pre-record these up until then. That way I don't have dead air. I'm trying really, really, really hard to stick with this schedule for at least once a week, anywhere between the articles and the podcast. So I'm trying super, super hard to maintain said schedule as much as humanly possible. So hopefully I can do that. There's a lot of podcasts that have been backed up because I've been writing a whole bunch of articles. So hopefully that doesn't fall into the background and I can continue to do this. So podcasts are supremely more easier than articles currently because I am horrific at keeping a sorry. I promise I'm a professional as you hear a phone vibrate. You might even hear my cat because she is very, very needy today. So I it, as I was saying, it is supremely difficult for me to write articles because there is some amount of research that goes into them, so I'm reporting the correct information as much as possible. I do sometimes get feedback from you guys where, hey, this is incorrect. And if you guys end up doing that, send me a link of some sort saying why it's incorrect and I can read it. And that way it can be edited later because it's actually quite helpful when you guys are like, oh, no, that's wrong. And why it's wrong and what information is incorrect. And sometimes I am doubtful of the correctness of it all. So if you guys end up doing that for me, which I massively appreciate, send me a link too where you've seen that information. That way I feel free to edit because I have the information and I can also link other viewers to said information as well. Yes, but I am pre-recording everything. So let's get into this real quick. So a mostly self-taught German-born composer and music producer, this spotlight artist has created some of the best known soundtracks for movies and television through his decades in his career. And today we are talking and taking a look at Hans Zimmer's incredible compositions and his very long career. Thank you for joining me. I'm Lulu, your host. This is an utter randomness. This is an utter randomness podcast, and this is a spotlight artist. Now, Zimmer started his career in 1977 when he played keyboards and synthesizers for a band called Krakatoa. Now, I have no idea if this band is still in rotation today, but he also worked with another band called Buggles. He can briefly be seen in a music video for Video Killed the Radio Star, which came out in the 80s. And he's on the synth and he's playing the synths. He's playing the synths. I meant to say he's wearing completely black. Now, throughout the 70s and the 80s, Zimmer's hopped around from band to band, playing with bands such as Charisma, Helden, Meccano, Struck Back, and The Damned. He even wrote advertisement jingles for Air Idol Associates before partnering up with composer Stanley Myers. And Stanley Myers worked on Doctor Who, The Legends of Robin Hood, and Kaleidoscope. Those are some of his more well-known works. And they still work together today on a number of compositions and even created and co-founded a recording studio called Lily Yard. Now, Zimmer wouldn't work solo until 87 with Terminal Exposure, which was directed by Nico Mastorikis. Forgive me if I say that wrong. He acted as score producer for The Last Emperor, which also was released in 87, and this movie snagged him an Academy Award for Best Original Score. Now, the turning point for Zimmer's career occurred in 1988 with this little-known film called Rain Man. Zimmer most likely wouldn't have even been the composer for the movie score if it wasn't for director Barry Levinson's wife, who heard Zimmer's work on the drama A World Apart. He approached the score saying that he wanted this music contained because Raymond, the main character, didn't understand what was happening to him. He experienced the world so differently, and Zimmer wanted to echo that within the score. The film went on to win 4 Academy Awards, and Zimmer was nominated as well. He went on to continue his work on popular movies such as Driving Miss Daisy, Thelma and Louise, K2, Drop Zone, True Romance, and The Power of One. His first animated film score came with Disney's The Lion King in 1994. Zimmer won so many awards for his work on The Lion King, and the score was eventually adapted for Broadway. Now, Lion King's Broadway became the highest grossing show on Broadway. So, oops, now as I knock my microphone. Yes, today is an all kind of crazy day. In 1995, Zimmer worked on a movie called Crimson Tide, winning him a Grammy Award for its main theme. In 98, he faced the challenge of producing and composing for the film The Thin Red Line. Now, before I even start talking about The Thin Red Line, this movie was so unusual in its production. Now, most music is done in post. Now, the movie is filmed. It could go through some CGI post-production. It's not done per se, but the music is usually done in post-production because how it's done, it is done in a huge orchestra room. And it's filled in, this orchestra room can be filled with all sorts of people, all sorts of musicians, depending on what the composer wants in their music. The music is already written, and you will have a huge projection screen behind the orchestra where the composer can see what's being played on screen. Now, the reason for that is so the composer can see where to stop and end the music on screen. Now, this is similarly how something like voiceovers can be done. Sometimes a small clip could be played of what action is happening, words being said. They did this with The Incredibles, I think it was. However, this movie was done, I guess, backwards in its way. He had to record and compose 6.5 hours of music for this movie. And he not actually seeing it be filmed or be done. Now, his second animated film came after this with The Prince of Egypt, where he introduced Ofra Haza to the directors. Ofra Haza, she was the singing voice for Moses' mother, and I can't remember her name, so please forgive me. And that movie's great. It's got beautiful art and beautiful music if you have not seen it. The Thin Red Line is regarded as Zimmer's most important work. The Journey to the Line theme can be found in so many trailers and video games, and it was coined the forbidden cue because filmmakers used it as a temporary track for dramatic scenes. And I think actually it's still used to this day. Zimmer would continue his work and work on blockbuster films such as Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, The Last Samurai, Shark Tale, Madagascar, The Da Vinci Code, The Simpsons Movie, Kung Fu Panda, Angels and Demons, and Sherlock Holmes. The 2000s also saw Zimmer compose music for the first time for video games, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and Crysis 2. October 2000 had him perform live with an orchestra and choir at the 27th Annual Flanders International Film Festival in Ghent. While writing the score for The Last Samurai, and actually this movie faced even backlashes back in the 2000s because of who they put as the main actor, Zimmer felt that he knew way too little about Japanese music, and he began to research. However, the longer he researched, the more he felt as if he knew less and less. And I think this happens to a lot of people because when I do research for movies in specific, I love to know how it's done. I love to know how production goes. I love to know background BTS bits, behind the scenes bits. I love to know how it's done, how it's filmed, especially for like CGI or practical effects. I love to know how it's done. And it's a lot of fun to research some of this. But when you research movies that are either heavily CGI or heavily practical effect with CGI rendered over it, that way it gives them a better illusion. You try to figure out how to do it, especially in today's era where a lot of things are more CGI than practical. I miss the practical. I really do. So Zimmer finally wrote a letter to Japan. I don't know who specific in Japan, just to Japan, probably a musician in Japan, in order to receive feedback. And he was very, very surprised when the pen pal sent him another letter back saying he asked how did he know so much about Japanese music? And while working on The Last Samurai, Zimmer was approached by Jerry Bruckheimer. And Jerry Bruckheimer was wondering if he would do the replacement score for a particular movie. But before I get into that, Jerry Bruckheimer had worked previously with Zimmer on Crimson Tide, The Rock, and Pearl Harbor, and he wanted a replacement score for Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. He was feeling unsatisfied with the score, which had been composed by Alan Silvestri. Now, Silvestri is actually is a super good composer himself. Unfortunately, because of his commitment to The Last Samurai, he couldn't oversee the new score composition for the entire movie. And unfortunately, because of that, he could not compose any of the music. So he ended up giving it to Claus Beldet, and he ended up composing for Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, Zimmer does eventually compose for the following 3 movies: Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End, and Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Now, he did provide some themes for the film, but he is not credited because he did not offer full composition. It was Klaus. So he was not credited for doing that movie. Now, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins and The Dark Knight saw Zimmer join a collaborative effort for the score of these movies. Zimmer represented Joker. Now, if you have not heard Batman's Begins and even The Dark Knight's film music, I highly suggest you do so. It is very, very enthralling. Now, for Joker, he wanted to create a theme for him that people would actually hate. Now, how do you come up with a composition that people are going to hate? The very idea of probably listening to it. So he came up with the idea of having a cello playing a long hold one note. That's all it was. And if you have not listened to it, that's literally what and it's layered with other instruments the longer it goes. And it's like one single note for like 11 minutes almost. But it is layered. Unfortunately, and this was somewhat backwards in my opinion, unfortunately, the movie score was disqualified for having too many composers at the Academy Awards. Movies are a collaborative effort to begin with. You have producers, executive producers, directors, photography, the actors, CGI, music. It's a collaborative effort to begin with. So Zimmer worked very, very hard to get this overturned, citing that the process of creating a modern film score was collaborative and that it was important to credit a range of people who had played a part in its production. So thankfully he did get that overturned, but I never thought that one film could have too many composers because, like I said before, making a film in general is a collaborative effort. You're surrounded by people who might be smarter than you, who know what they're doing and who know what they're talking about, whether it be in composition or in the movie's production or post-production. So I never understood why something would be disqualified for having too many composers when movies are a collaborative effort, but I digress. He approached his next project, Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, with quirkiness, composing and arranging the score on an old, out-of-tune piano. Once again, Sherlock and Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, when it came out, I remember that I was a band student, and I remember all the schools were playing Sherlock Holmes and Pirates of the Caribbean And I think one school played the pirate, not pirates. I got pirates stuck on the brain now. The Prince of Egypt. Like, Hans Zimmer is widely played to this day. So he approached this with quirkiness. Director Guy Ritchie and Zimmer visit Slovakia, Italy, and France to actually physically research authentic Romani music to use in the film, which was played by Romani virtuoso musicians. Now, once again, Inception is another film with music that is widely played in symphonic orchestrations, whether at any level, to be quite honest. It was a blockbuster hit in 2010, and it had Zimmer alter the song. Now, this is in French. I do not know French, so please forgive my pronunciation for this. Non je ne regrette rien. And using a blaring foghorn-like sound throughout the score. Now, I'm sure everybody's familiar with this, so that's where that came from. This horn sound became overused in film trailers after Zimmer's usage of it. He said, "It's funny how that sort of thing becomes part of the zeitgeist," citing that the sound is probably exactly what trailers were looking for in regards to a dramatic punch that literally shakes the seat within theaters. This was so widely used in the 2010s. If you don't think so, go look up 2010 after Inception's release. Look up trailers that were in the same time frame as that. They all have that fog-esque sound in their trailers. It's very widely used. Now, Zimmer composed the music for The Dark Knight Rises, where, and I'm going to very, 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 very briefly talk about this. I'm not going to go into this. We're going to keep this channel as family friendly as possible, where unfortunately tragedy struck when a shooting took place within a theater. Now, I'm sure everybody knows what and when this happened. Unfortunately, Zimmer was very devastated by these events, so he recorded a title track, which he called Aurora, which was a choral arrangement of the Dark Knight Rises soundtrack to raise funds for the victim. And you can still listen to it to this day. It's still on, I believe, YouTube and YouTube Music. And I actually think it's even on Spotify. You can still listen to this music to this day. Now, Zimmer has continued to produce and compose music, more specifically for a televised series, The Bible, and a film called 12 Years a Slave, which won an Academy Award in 2014. Now, alongside the Magnificent Six, and if you don't know the Magnificent Six, they are comprised of Pharrell Williams, Johnny Marr, Michael Einziger, Junkie XL, Andrew Kozinski, and Steve Mazzaro. He composed the music for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He also composed music for Interstellar, which earned him another Academy Award. March 2016 saw him stating that he was retiring for superhero films after composing music with Junkie XL for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And he actually does retire for quite some time from any superhero music, and I don't blame him. Superhero music and superhero films are still widely produced to this day. 2016 saw him compose music for BBC's Planet Earth 2 and the Netflix The Crown, and saw him release an online course about the basics of film scoring. 2017 saw him partner up again with Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, in which he based the score on a ticking watch that was given to him by Nolan, and it's very unique in the way it sounds. So Zimmer and co-composer Benjamin Wallfisch took over Blade Runner 2049 after the original composer Johannesson left the project. 2017 was a very interesting year for Zimmer. Not only did he take on projects such as Blade Runner and Dunkirk, but he also performed at the well-known concert stage at Coachella. When I saw this, because I actually got to watch it on YouTube Live. It was one of the few times that Coachella was live streaming their stages. So at first glance, having a film composer perform at something such as Coachella may have been slightly disastrous. However, it ended up being the icing on the cake because of the style Zimmer typically arranges his music. It fit in with Coachella because of its bass pounding, victorious feeling, and usually he gave the stage to other various performers that were joining him for the for the evening, and it was a triumphant success. He performed music from Batman Begins, Wonder Woman, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Prince of Egypt, and others, and it was such a neat watch. I wish I could tell you to go watch it, but I'm not sure if there's any version of it anymore that's on YouTube. So if you can find it, I do suggest it. In 2018 and 2019, he was composing for FIFA World Cup and its subsequent game, FIFA 19. Even though he said he was retiring from the superhero genre, Zimmer picked up The Dark Phoenix and Wonder Woman 1984. He also re-entered the world of The Lion King with its live remake directed by Jon Favreau. In March 2019, it was announced that Zimmer would be composing music for the highly anticipated film Dune, which just came out. Dune just came out. It's just going watching it. I have not watched it yet, but that is on my watch list. Dune had him be contacted by BMW to create sounds for its concept vehicle, Vision M Next. Now, when I wrote this, I think I wrote this last year in 2021. So movies like Zoom was not out, and his other works had not been released just of yet. Now, some of these movies have been released already. So 2020, obviously, Zimmer composed music for Hillbilly Elegy, and it was announced that he'd be working on the upcoming James Bond film, No Time to Die, which I believe has been released, when composer John Romer left the project. Now, Zimmer has received a very wide range of accolades. He has a star on the Boulevard des Stars in Berlin. He's received the Lifetime Achievement Award in Film Composition, the Frederick Lowe Award, and the ASCAP's Henry Mancini Award, and BMI's Richard Kirk Award. Forgive me, that was a very much a mouthful. 2010 saw him receive his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which he dedicated to his longtime friend Ronnie Chasen, who unfortunately passed a month previously. 2016, he was a inaugural winner of the Stephen Hawking Medal for Science Communication, which was a very weird award when I read that, because it was for his work on Interstellar. He even had an asteroid named after him. He has won over 11 Academy Awards for his various works, received the Order of Merit of Federal Republic of Germany, and was inducted as a Disney legend in 2019. You have heard Zimmer's work at one time or another. A proper musical score can give a movie so much life, drama, heartbreak, wonderment, incitement, and transport you through space and just worlds beyond. I want you to do me a favor. The next time you're watching a movie, whether it be an old classic or something new, I probably do this on an old classic, something you've watched before and you're rewatching. I want you to listen to the soundtrack of the film. I want you to imagine if that music wasn't there. You might be surprised by how it makes you feel if you go and watch a movie and the music wasn't there. Which actually, yes, when a director decides that he wants no music at a particular part, it's for a reason, because no music can also add a sense of suspense, of thrill, of uncomfortableness. And it's usually done in scary films or more thriller adventure movies. But I want you to go watch a movie, because let's get into some news real fast, and then I will let you go, because this show is significantly longer than what I've been doing recently. News. I will be releasing your website soon if it's not already released, because this is all pre-recorded, so it could be released already. I am working very diligently on it. That's probably one of the reasons why I haven't really sat down and written an article, because I'm scheduling these ahead of time. What I'm currently watching, just so you guys know, or if you want to recommend something, HBO just released its first episode for The Time Traveler's Wife. I recommend it because it held my attention for the entire hour, so I do recommend it. I think they're going in the right direction of it. I am watching tomorrow, obviously. I'm watching Outlander. I have never watched Outlander. I can hear the gasps from here. I have not watched Outlander, so I'm currently watching the Outlander right now. I am only on season 1. My brother recommended The Boys. Season 3 is coming out soon, I believe next month in June. I say next month, probably by this release, it will be June. But it's being released relatively soon. And he swears by it, so he wants me to watch it. So I'm currently on episode, as I'm recording this, I am on episode 6 of The Boys on season 1. They just met Kimiko. So if you've not watched that, I actually recommend it, on at least for season 1. Movies. What have I watched in movies? My next movie is Dune. If plans go accordingly, I might end up going to see the new Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but I've not seen the new Spider-Man movie, so I have to figure out the new Spider-Man movie. And I think that's it. So, yes. If you guys want me to record something, or if you guys want me to research something or / watch something, please send me a voice message. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out the articles that correlate with these podcasts. You can please consider supporting this blog on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and I am now on Ko-Fi. And I think that's it. So until next time, thanks in advance, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.